you made history. How important was this? How do you feel? Talk to me about smashing this glass ceiling.
Yeah, it's a wild moment. Something that I've been thinking about, dreaming of, working toward, wanting, all of those verbs for a really long time. I think longer than maybe people realize that this is kind of what I've been striving for. So yeah, it's incredible. I do have to give a shout out though to the, it's an interesting history because there's a little bit of an asterisk, right? UFC 1, before Zuffa owned the UFC,
Right.
there was a female commentator on that very first UFC. So shout out to Kathy Long. And I've been, chatting with people, of course, today, and I hope I get a chance to talk with her. I would love to pick her brain about what her experience was like and the real behind the scenes of, because those were the wild days for sure. But yeah, right. 20 whatever years later, to be the first under the Zuffa banner is, man, it's just, to say it's an honor is an understatement.
How did this happen? Had you been talking to Dana? What was kind of the lead up to this piece of history actually happening?
We would need a several hour long show to truly explain it. This is something that I set out to do a very long time ago, and probably vocalized it before it was even remotely a possibility or reality, which is always tough, right? Because people go, "Oh, that's cute," and not that that's the reaction I got internally, but it was, there's that feeling of like, that's very far away,
Right.
But it was important to me to kind of put it out there. And so for the last 4 years, I've been doing a lot. There were auditions involved. There were a lot of no's involved. There was, I would say within the last year, a lot of things finally fell into place. And some of them were just amazing opportunities that kind of came to me and I snatched them. So whether it was calling an Invicta, I had called fights for Invicta previously, but it was in a play-by-play role, which the nuance of like these television terms is kind of important in this, because
absolutely.
It's like there's specific things that specific people do and like a specific slot I wanted. So I did some last minute fights for Invicta FC. The day they called me the day of the fights because they needed someone because of a COVID situation. So my first time doing color commentary was on 4 hours notice.
Wow.
And then later on, the LFA, which is an even bigger feeder organization for the UFC, earlier this year had a similar thing where they needed someone very last minute. And a day before, I stepped up with very little preparation. So when I got this call and was told less than a day before we did it, that I'd get this opportunity, it was kind of like the universe had prepared me. So I had all these last minute experiences, had done well in those. So I thought, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it.
You get the opportunity, you do a great job. And I think that's been the consensus across the board. I assume you want to continue doing this, right? Has there been conversation about calling other events? And obviously the UFC has some great people in Joe Rogan and DC and Bisping, and they do a fabulous job, but so did you. So what do you want to do now going forward, Laura? And is there any talk about, getting on another Contender Series event or a UFC card, a fight night, something like that?
I'll definitely be calling this season the Contender Series. That's the kind of the plan moving forward. And
awesome.
The great thing about this is, and this has always been sort of my pitch from the beginning, I've never wanted to do this job in replacement of anybody ever. I've never said, "Oh, I'm better than so-and-so," or that nothing could be further from the truth. I've just very firmly and strongly believed from the beginning that I had a perspective, in part the women's MMA perspective, that just hasn't been told yet in the UFC. And I've been in this game 14 years, and while I don't have the long 2-page topology, to point out that some other fighters do, I've been in the game 14 years. I was training and fighting before women were in the UFC and before Invicta even existed. So this is a sport that runs very deep in my bones, I guess you can say. So my desire is just to add to the conversation, not replace anybody. So if I have those opportunities to just come be a part of the table, be a part of the conversation with those guys moving forward, that would be amazing. And in terms of discussions, it's funny that you say that, because literally I took off early this morning from Vegas, and then as soon as I landed, I started doing back-to-back interviews in my car. I'd pull over the side of the road, do a Zoom, and
Right.
I literally just got to my house. So the first one I've been able to do sitting down. But in between, I got a text that said, hey, I guess Kevin Iole spoke to Dana, and it sounds like their plan is to use me for fight nights in the near future. So
Wow.
didn't really know that was on the table, but I guess I passed the test. So
There was a time, and it wasn't too long ago, and credit to Dana for changing his position. Dana said, hey, women aren't even going to fight in the UFC. Now look, now the women's divisions are more than flourishing, and some of the greatest fights in the entire promotion are between women. Now here you are, breaking a glass ceiling with respect to UFC 1. I understand that, but what you did was important in my mind. What does that say to people out there, and especially to women out there and little girls out there who maybe they love this sport and now they see you and they believe that they can really do anything? They can fight, they can call fights, anything is possible.
It's so crazy for me to think about those things, because I've never really set out to be any sort of trailblazer or these words that people are using now. It blows my mind, because people say things like that more and more to me, and it's almost hard for me to I tend to be very self-deprecating, so it's hard for me to take that in stride and say yes to that. But if that is true, and it seems like it is based on the messages I've been reading today, and it's been amazing. That's huge. That's incredibly important to me, because I do want to be clear about this. The opportunity with the UFC, it was never about we don't want you because we don't want women calling fights. They're a very progressive, supportive organization. It was a matter of timing and making sure that the right person with the right skill set at the right time was put in the right place. And I'm very fortunate that I was that person with that skill set, and this was the time and the place. And I guess I say that to say that there are so many women out there who are talented broadcasters who know the sport. And I genuinely hope that, last night was just a nice step forward in opening the doors for other people to do even bigger, better things than I may go on to do.
I know I said that was the last one, but have you gotten a lot of messages, especially from women or girls out there?
Yeah, I have a lot. And in particular, a lot of dads, actually, a lot of dads with daughters. They're probably UFC fight fans themselves. I've had a lot of guys say, I'm watching the fights and my daughter walked into the room and she saw you on the television. And we just started having a conversation about, what it means for her to be doing this job. And man, that's crazy to me, because I started out this journey, I was just a fan on my couch watching the UFC and watching Pride. And then I was like, I'm going to go train. And then I was like, I'm going to go fight. And then MMA has this way of grabbing your soul as soon as you really fall in love with it. And so for me to be able to look back from where I started to what I did last night is just, it's incredible. And if that can influence someone else's journey, girl, boy, man, woman, whoever, I'm super proud.